You are listening to the Novel Writing Podcast, episode 150. I'm your host, Colleen Mitchell. Grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Today's episode is about the third of 4 categories of writer's block, called difficulty prioritizing. If you got this result from our writer's block quiz, then your first stop should be the video that Haley made for you. So if you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and pause this first. You back? Awesome. Raise your hand if you have ever done nothing because you couldn't decide which thing to do first. This is a classic problem of the overwhelmed. When you have too many things to do, the brain will short circuit and then choose to do nothing because there are too many competing choices. There's actually a study out there about how too many choices makes us less satisfied with the final choice than if we only had a few choices. Think about clothes shopping for a moment, and I promise we'll get back to writing in a minute. When you go shopping for a shirt and there's 30 choices of shirt, think style, colors, pattern, material, long sleeve, short sleeve, thickness, stitching, etc. You will have a harder time choosing a shirt than if you had 3 or 4 options. Not only that, when you get home and actually wear the shirt, you will be less satisfied with your choice. You'll think about all the other shirts you could have picked that were really just as good as the one that you bought, and yet you didn't choose them. You chose this one. So let's bring this back to writing and prioritizing. Writing is one of many things on your never-ending to-do list. Let's just face the fact that we will never, ever cross the last thing off the to-do list because it grows every day. We never lack for things to do. Your brain will look at each thing on your to-do list and categorize it as easy or hard. And more often than not, writing gets labeled as hard by the brain, even if you really enjoy writing. This is what happens next. Writing, that hard thing, shoots to the bottom of the to-do list, and then your brain looks at everything else, labeling the rest of them as either hard or easy. The vast majority of the things on your to-do list will end up in the hard category, even if they truly aren't. What's even worse is that the things your brain labeled as easy actually are hard in disguise because you have to overcome the inertia of not doing something in order to start, even if it's something easy. So for example, for me, hand washing some of the dishes is a recurring task on my to-do list that my brain would label as easy. But that means I'd have to start doing it. And the starting of the task is what requires effort and energy. And fun fact, the effort and energy to start an easy task is the exact same as the effort and energy it takes to start a hard task. So a little quick tidbit there. So it's not that I can't do the hand washing, it's that my brain, and yours too, is automatically pushing everything to the bottom of the priority list, even though there are technically things that have to be done sooner than others. And second fun fact about the word priority is that it wasn't even a plural word until the 1940s. The word priority means the number one most important thing. And when you have more than one most important thing, none of them are most important, and you're more likely to not do any of them when you want to do them. So when you have a billion things on your to-do list, and your brain labels them all as hard, and writing is in that category, no wonder you and I both have trouble prioritizing writing. So at this point, are you ready for the good news? There are multiple ways to force your brain to properly prioritize things, and it's just a matter of A, finding out what works for your brain, and B, coming up with a surefire way to overcome the inertia of starting. And that's a whole other podcast episode. I'm going to list a few different ways of prioritizing with the understanding that your writing is important, but it's up to you to decide how urgent it is. Never, ever forget that your writing is important. So number 1 is something called the Eisenhower matrix, and this forces you to categorize things into a matrix of urgency and importance. High urgency and high importance things are the things to do immediately. Low urgency and low importance things are the long-term tasks and projects to do once your immediate things are out of the way. High urgency and low importance tasks are the things that you should probably delegate, and low urgency, low importance things are the things to delete if possible. And if it's not possible to delete or delegate those things, then do them last. Writing should fall into your low urgency, high importance box. Number 2 is this prioritization matrix spread. Now, I saw this on Instagram, and I will link the video in the description, but this is something that has you compare every task on your list, or at least a subsection of them, against all the others to determine which one in that chunk is the most important. And then at the end, to determine which one in that chunk is more important. And then at the end, you add up the scores to determine the order in which you should do all of the things based on overall importance. Now, I've done this exactly once, but the one time that I did it was really eye-opening and actually really helpful. The downside is how long it takes to both set up and go through the process of prioritizing. The third one is ABC prioritizing, where your most important things are marked as A tasks. Second most important are marked as B tasks, and everything else is a C task. Now, ideally, you'd work through your lists from A to C, and writing, in my opinion, should be either an A task or a B task. The fourth way that I'm going to talk about is called Eat the Frog, and this is also the title of a book by Brian Tracy, and he talks about when you eat the frog, it's doing one really hard thing every morning. It's on your to-do list, so you get the worst thing out of the way, and you have a sense of accomplishment throughout the rest of the day. And maybe for you, your frog is a difficult scene to write. And number 5, the big 3. This is popularized by the Full Focus Planner. It's really to choose 3 main things to do each day, making sure that those 3 main things are supporting your overall goals, and then do them. So it's really like pick the 3 things and then do them. So hopefully writing is one of those big 3. Now, there are innumerable more prioritization methods out there, but you'll have to try them out for yourself to decide which one works best for you. Always remembering that no matter which method you pick, that putting writing toward the top of your list does not mean that you're ignoring or putting off your other obligations. So that's it for today's episode. If this has been helpful for you, we would really appreciate it if you left a rating or review on your platform of choice. While it does nothing for us, it really does help other writers find this podcast. So thanks for joining me, and remember, the first draft is supposed to be garbage. Thanks for listening to the Novel Writing Podcast. If you're ready to stop struggling and start finishing your novel, check out the 60-Day Novel Writing Challenge. It's a step-by-step program designed for solo writers to complete their first draft with clarity and focus. Visit the link in the description to learn more.